Take care of my old lady."
With these words, my husband left the house with a suitcase. How could he be so selfish? I stood there stunned, looking at the front door, where my husband had disappeared. Moments later, I locked eyes with my mother-in-law. "Oh, Mom, were you awake?" This is bad. I wondered if she heard what my husband just said. As I panicked, my mother-in-law smiled gently and said, "Let's sell this house right away." My name is Casey, and I'm a 32-year-old housewife. I've been married to my husband Nathan for 2 years. We met when we worked at the same workplace. He is 3 years older than me and served as my mentor when I joined the company. That's when I started admiring him, and that admiration persisted even after I started working on my own. From then on, we began working together on the same tasks. Little by little, the distance between us grew smaller. We began going for drinks and started exchanging small messages. I felt like he was starting to like me. Around that time, he started inviting me on dates, and after a few more dates, he confessed his feelings to me, and we started dating officially. Then we continued our relationship. He was so sweet and gentlemanly. He took good care of me when we were dating. And about a year and a half into our relationship, he proposed to me.
"From now on, I want you to always be by my side, supporting me. Please marry me."
"Yes, thank you so much." And so, we decided to get married. We quickly went to meet each other's parents, and the announcement went smoothly. After introducing our families, we had our wedding ceremony, attended by many friends and colleagues who blessed our marriage. Following a honeymoon abroad, we returned home to start our newlywed life. Our early married life was delightful. My husband said he wanted me to become a homemaker after getting married, so I quit my job and became a full-time housewife. From then on, I worked hard on household chores and supported my husband. Since I had lived alone for a long time, I had no trouble with cooking and cleaning. I enjoy cooking, so I can prepare various homemade dishes for my husband. My husband always tells me that the dishes I make are delicious, and he eats them with a satisfied expression. Being a homemaker comes with a various busy and challenging aspects, but just seeing my husband enjoy the meals happily motivates me to keep going. On days off, we spend an enjoyable time together, and that's how we were happily living our newlywed life. However, recently, after 2 years of a married life, an event occurred that changed the situation. That's because my father-in-law passed away from a sudden illness. My father-in-law's death was so sudden and so shocking. Many people attended the funeral, indicating that he was well regarded. After the funeral, my husband made a proposal.
"I feel bad leaving Mom alone, so I'd like to move in with her."
"What? Living together?"
"Yeah, I think especially in times like this, we should support each other. I'm an only child, and there is no one else she can rely on."
Well, okay. I decided to accept my husband's suggestion. While living together brought some anxiety, my mother-in-law had been kind to me. I was certainly worried about leaving my mother-in-law alone. My husband expressed gratitude to me and quickly proposed living together to his mother. Initially, she seems hesitant, but when we assured her that there was nothing to worry about and she didn't need to hold back, she expressed gratitude for the offer. "Mom, I'm counting on you from today." "Yes, I'm looking forward to it." "There may be areas where I fall short, but if that happens, please guide me." "No need for guidance. I can still move, so let's work on house chores together." Yes, thank you. My mother-in-law was very kind, and living together was incredibly enjoyable. We shared the cooking and stuff. My mother-in-law has seasoning that I would never use. My cooking repertoire has grown thanks to my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law also told me all kinds of funny stories that always made me laugh. My mother-in-law said she'd always wanted a daughter too. I sometimes go to lunch during the weekday and have tea at a cafe. I spend a lot of time getting along well with my mother-in-law. At first, I was worried about living with a mother-in-law, feeling it might not go well. However, it turned out to be more enjoyable and happy than I had anticipated. I even thought it was better that we lived together. But after a little while of living together, my husband's work became increasingly busy. He used to come home by 7:30 p.m. at the latest, but recently, he often arrived after 10 p.m., sometimes even past midnight, and he would skip dinner. Despite the effort my mother-in-law and I put into preparing meals, it was disheartening when he didn't eat them. Sometimes, we had to endure the pain of sharing their uneaten food for lunch. Still, I endure it. Understanding that my husband was working hard and he was the sole provider. The fact that he worked and provided for us made me appreciate the time spent with my mother-in-law. And I think it helped that I enjoyed being alone with my mother-in-law. Regarding my husband's dinner, I started preparing the ingredients in advance and quickly assembling the meal when he ate at home. The basic solution worked well. I can now honestly support my husband's hard work and dedication to his career. That's how I spend my happy days. However, one day, I noticed a strange feeling. It was about my mother-in-law. She seems to be increasingly absent-minded, staring blankly at one point, and sometimes not responding even when I called. Concerned, I discussed it with my husband, who agreed that this was the first time she had shown such behavior, and we decided to take her to the hospital. To our surprise, the doctor revealed a shocking truth. My mother-in-law was diagnosed with depression. It was hard to believe, considering the enjoyable conversation and the many smiles I had witnessed while living together.
Why is Mom depressed?
Nathan seems puzzled, unsure of what to do. But recently, my mother-in-law has been truly downhearted. Maybe she is suppressing the shock and sorrow of losing her husband. Could it be that these emotions occasionally resurface, plunging her into sudden darkness? I was surprised when my mother-in-law was diagnosed with depression. But if there's anything I can do, I want to help. We need to support her.
Oh, well, yeah.
Nathan, is something wrong?
Well, with my job being busy, I find it challenging to focus on Mom. So, can I leave Mom to you?
Huh? Are you asking me to take care of her?
No, it's not like that. Since you're always at home, Casey, I thought you could handle it.
This isn't something to delegate. We should work together.
I know, but I have to support this family, don't I? That's all we can do. You are a stay-at-home wife, so I leave it to you.
That's... Nathan, in such a manner, handed over the responsibility of his depressed mother to me. Despite being his own mother, how could he say such selfish things? I questioned my husband's attitude and felt that he might not be reliable when needed. Despite these concerns, I decided to comfort my mother-in-law. How are you feeling, Mom? Oh, I'm fine. Casey, I'm sorry. My mood has been a bit low lately. It's okay. I'm here to listen. Whenever you feel like talking, please do. Expressing your worries can make you feel better. Yes. Even though my mother-in-law responded this way, her face betrayed a sense of despondency. She seems to be carrying some burden, and I hoped I could lighten her heart a little. However, my husband showed no sign of concern for his mother. On the contrary, he started coming home later and often went out on weekends.
I can't stand being at home all the time. It's suffocating. Let me have some time to unwind.
My husband did as he pleased, even though my mother-in-law is suffering from depression. Why can't he live such a self-centered life? Moreover, my husband gradually reduced the money he contributed to the household. Why is there less money coming home when you're working overtime?
It can't be helped. I also have various social obligations for the sake of career advancement. I thought I would increase my spending money, and that's how it turned out.
My feelings toward my husband waned with his high-handed attitude. One day, my mother-in-law developed a high fever. I rushed her to the hospital and nursed her back to health. When I informed my husband, he was taken aback.
What? A fever? Spare me.
Huh?
I'm leaving on a trip from tomorrow.
Huh? A trip?
Yeah, I'm going on an overseas trip with friends.
I didn't hear about this.
I kept quiet because you would complain if I told you in advance.
Besides, your mother has a high fever and you're going on a trip?
Obviously. Moreover, make sure you don't infect me. And absolutely do not call me when Mom is around, okay?
Nathan made a gesture, covering his mouth with his arm, as he entered the room. He truly the worst. Even though his own mother is suffering from a high fever, he treats her like a carrier of some infectious disease. I suddenly felt my affection for him fade away. It's really pitiful for your mother that someone like you is her son. And my husband wouldn't come to the dining room for meals. When he finished packing, he went off somewhere. Then, he came back about an hour later, so he must have finished his meal outside. It's really too selfish. The next morning, my husband was up early for breakfast. It's a time he would never normally wake up at. I'm sure that's how much he looks forward to traveling abroad. How many days will you be traveling?
1 week.
Huh? A week?
Yeah, we're going abroad for a change. We've got to enjoy it to the fullest.
Oh yeah. I couldn't even get a word out anymore. I guess family is not important to this person. And my husband hemmed as he headed for the front door.
Take care of my old lady.
Saying this, he left the house with a suitcase. How could he act so selfishly? I stood there dumbfounded, watching him leave. Then, a few seconds later, I made eye contact with my mother-in-law. When I turned around, there she was, my mother-in-law. Oh, Mom, were you already awake? I thought you were still sleeping since you had a fever yesterday. I wonder if she heard what my husband just said. As I panicked, my mother-in-law smiled gently and said, "Let's sell this house right away." Huh? I didn't quite understand what my mother-in-law meant. What do you mean? There's no medicine that can cure the boy anymore. Let's divorce him, sell the house, and leave. My mother-in-law reported this shocking news to me. What? An affair? Yes, the boy is having an affair. This is the evidence. My mother-in-law showed me the result of the investigation she had commissioned. No way. In the pictures, my husband and his affair partner are clearly visible. I'm sure he's planning to go on a trip with that woman starting today. I found out that my son is betraying you. I would tell you, But when I see your suffering face, I might also feel unbearable pain. And I'm afraid that I, being the mother of the one who committed adultery, might become your enemy. So I've been brooding over it for a long time, not being able to tell you. Wait, so your diagnosis of depression was probably because of your son's affair? Probably yes. Your husband's affair is likely the cause. I see. To think that my mother-in-law had been pushed to such an extent. It's understandable that she wouldn't easily reveal her son's infidelity. I could no longer forgive my husband for making not only me, but my mother-in-law suffer like this. Mom, let's sell the house and leave. I've made up my mind. My mother-in-law nodded, and we sprang into action. My mother-in-law had had her house assessed in the past. I contacted the realtor at the time, and the process went smoothly. It seems that the house, with its good location and well-maintained condition, found a buyer quickly. As soon as my mother-in-law and I sold the house, we rented a room and moved in. Casey, live here alone. Huh? Why? Let's live together, Mom. No. We may be close now, but I'm the mother of that adulterous son. It's possible that eventually you might look at me and be reminded of that awful child. You know, there's something I've been thinking about. It's about living in a luxury nursing home. I don't want to leave money behind for that ungrateful child who repays kindness with betrayal. So I thought I would use the money for myself and transfer the $34,000 to your account, Casey. Eh? No, I can't accept such a large sum. Why would you do that? That's for all the good times we've had living together. And I got a little down in the dumps toward the end. And I caused a lot of trouble. I've enjoyed our time together over the past year or so. Stay well even after parting ways with Nathan. Mom, I couldn't interfere with my mother-in-law's determination. But until I separate from my husband, we're still family. So I asked her to live together until then. My mother-in-law was embarrassed and said, "If that's what you mean." We were to stay together until it was all over. A few days later, he apparently returned home. An aggressive phone call came from my husband.
Hey, what the hell is going on? Why is my house someone else's now?
Oh, you're back. Welcome home. But this is no longer your family home.
Don't screw with me. Why is this happening?
Because you betrayed me and your mother. That's why.
What are you talking about?
Don't play dumb. I know you're having an affair.
Huh?
Even during the overseas trip, you went with your affair partner, right?
What are you talking about? I have no idea.
I have evidence from the detective agency. We're getting divorced, and you will pay alimony.
No, please. Spare me the alimony. I was planning to get a divorce, so that's fine. But alimony is not okay.
What nonsense are you talking about? You had an affair, so it's only natural, isn't it?
I have to support the child with her.
What? A child? You got your affair partner pregnant?
Well, not exactly pregnant. The child is already born.
What? A baby is already born?
It's not exactly a baby. It's 3 years old.
3 years old? Wait a minute. So the child was born just after we got married?
Yeah. After we got married, it turned out she was pregnant, and...
Hold on a second. Were you involved with her even when we were dating?
But I chose you as my spouse, right? Well, she still wants to focus on her career, so she said she didn't want to get married.
That's just despicable. It's beyond words.
It can't be helped. Love is blind, they say. Anyway, where's Mom? She's suffering from depression, so I should be living with her. Just tell me where she is. I'm going there.
I won't tell you.
What are you saying? She's my mother. I have the right to know.
Unfortunately, your mother doesn't want to see you anymore.
That can't be true. I'm her only son. Regardless of an affair or whatever, I'm her beloved son.
It's despicable that you thought that way. Mom got depression because of your affair, you know.
What?
After she found out about your affair, she hesitated to tell me and carried the burden alone. Mom's depression is because of you.
That. But even so, she wouldn't cut ties with me, right? Just tell me where Mom is.
My husband was selfish to no end, and I was appalled. I'm here.
What? Mom, you were with Casey? Why did you sell the house without telling me?
That's because I'm fed up with you, of course.
Mom, I'm sorry. But can you lend me some money? You heard what I just said, right? I need to pay alimony. And then, on top of that, I need a lot of money to remarry her. I was originally going to bring her and the kids to that house. If you've sold it, I don't blame you. You will have the money then, so use it for us.
What are you talking about? I would never do that. I'm cutting myself off from you.
What? Why? I'm your only son, remember?
So what? No parent would stand being ridiculed to this extent.
Well, you can still see your grandchild, you know.
I would think a child born to Casey would be adorable. But a child born from some unknown, filthy woman, even if there is a blood connection, I can't find it cute. You betrayed Casey and me. You have done something grave enough to sever ties. Acknowledge it, reflect on it, and live with it. Anyway, I won't have anything to do with it anymore.
That's...
My mother-in-law said that and hung up the phone. I'm sorry for hanging up abruptly. There's nothing more to talk about. After that, I sent a certified letter through a lawyer to my husband's workplace, demanding alimony for the affair. As my husband's workplace was also my former workplace, many superiors and colleagues who knew me criticized him severely. He ended up being demoted and transferred to a regional office with a pay cut. Currently, he's living a modest life in the countryside with his affair partner and their child, desperately trying to repay the alimony. A few months later, it seems the affair partner got fed up with their frugal life and left with the child. Now he lives alone, paying child support and alimony, leading a lonely life. It serves him right. On the other hand, I found a new job, and while working actively, I'm enjoying my single life. My mother-in-law was able to move into the upscale senior facility she desired. She has made friends and seems to be having a great time every day. I occasionally visit her, go out for lunch, and hear stories about the senior facility. The stories are always entertaining, and I enjoy my time with her. I hope to continue the friendship with my mother-in-law and have occasional meetings like this in the future.
Where were you yesterday? I told you my mom is moving in.
I was at the new house. Good job on the move.
Huh? What do you mean, new house?
Just as it sounds. A new residence.
Why are you talking nonsense?
Oh? Didn't catch that? Let me break it down. I'm divorcing you.
Huh? Why?
Because I hate scum like you and your nasty mom. I'm Myra. I left my job when I married Barton, who's 3 years younger, and for some time I concentrated on being a homemaker. In the early days of our marriage, my husband treated me well. Although I was happy to marry him, I never got along with my mother-in-law, Louisa. She comes from wealth, and I come from a different background. My father passed away when I was young, and my mother raised me alone. Louisa doesn't seem to like my family background, so she doesn't have a high opinion of me or my mom.
I won't let anyone speak ill of you, Myra, or your mom because of me.
My husband assured me of that. Whenever my mother-in-law tried to say something, he'd interrupt, saying,
It's none of your business, Mom.
He'd cut her off multiple times to reassure me. I used to picture myself happily spending time protected by my kind husband, but lately I've been concerned about my mom's health. When I visited my parents' place recently, it seemed like my mom wasn't doing well. I really want to be there for her. So, in between chores, I studied caregiving, thinking it might be useful in the future. To gain practical experience for when my mom might need care, I asked my husband if it would be okay for me to work as a caregiver.
Okay, but make sure to take care of the house.
Of course, I'll manage both properly. With his approval, I started working as a caregiver. After 3 years of juggling housework and work, I was pregnant with my first child. When I shared the news, both my husband and mother-in-law were overjoyed. However, they expressed reservations about me continuing to work as a caregiver. Still, I managed to persuade them somehow. I initially started this job to help my mother, and quitting would go against my intentions. Around the time I had gotten quite used to my caregiver job, my phone rang during work. The call was from the hospital, where my mother was rushed to the emergency room. I informed the facility manager of the situation and hurried to my mother's side. Then I was informed by the doctor that she had terminal cancer. Her remaining time was not long. She was recommended to the palliative care ward. After a brief conversation with my mother, I went back home to consult with my husband. I conveyed what the doctor told me to my husband. However, it was a bit awkward to discuss, mainly because my mother-in-law happened to be there today.
Oh, I see. Must have been tough for you.
Do you think we could take care of my mom here?
No way.
I wasn't asking her.
It's depressing to have such a very sick person in the house. When Barton comes home from work, he'll have to be concerned about it, right? It's better to leave that kind of thing to professionals.
Well, yeah, that's true.
What?
If she has a short life expectancy, then palliative care becomes crucial, right? I mean, isn't it tough for your mother to be here experiencing pain? Besides, I don't like coming home from work and having to worry about it either.
Despite my husband's previous protective words for me and my mother, he calmly expressed his reluctance. I was very shocked. Still, I bit the bullet, all for my mother. You know why I got a caregiver qualification, right? I wanted to care for my mom. I want to be by her side until the end. Please.
It doesn't have to be while living together, right? You could visit the palliative care ward. She'll kick the bucket soon anyway. Oh, look here. Your time needs to be used wisely.
Really, it's a waste of time. Barton is right. If you handle it, everything will neatly fall into place. Honestly, I won't accept a daughter-in-law wanting to take care of her own mother, especially one who just came here.
This is absurd. I could clearly see my husband's true nature. He is not a kind person. He doesn't understand other people's feelings. In the end, my mother was admitted to a facility specializing in palliative care close to our home. I frequently took time out of my work schedule to check on my mother. However, my mother-in-law, who dislikes my mother, and even my husband, never visit her. Moreover, they don't even inquire about my mother's health. I am happy that I am able to conceive a child, but I am disgusted by the fact that my husband is the father. Your belly has gotten bigger. Yeah, the baby is growing well. I'm looking forward to meeting my first grandchild. My mother doesn't talk about my husband, who never shows his face. Even so, she doesn't speak ill of him. It is sad and makes me grow angry at my husband. My mother is getting weaker by the day. When I see my mother, who does not whine even in such a situation, I cannot hold back my tears. Mom, make sure to see your grandchild's face. Of course, I'm really looking forward to it. And 2 months later, my first daughter was born, and my mother met her. Even at this time, my husband and my mother-in-law strongly opposed the idea. They believed that taking a newborn to a breeding ground for pathogens was completely out of the question. The hospital said we couldn't meet directly, but if it's through the glass, there's no problem. So I'll take her.
There's no need to go through all that trouble. Taking a newborn around like that, isn't that being an unfit mother?
It's just on the way back from the hospital checkup.
Even so, it's a long journey for the child.
Long journey? The hospital is on the way between the maternity clinic and home, right? Barton looked puzzled. He didn't even remember where my mother's hospital was. Stop with the excuses. Some things are just not acceptable. As a daughter-in-law, you should listen to what we say, shouldn't you? So will Barton and you take the child for a checkup?
Huh?
If I go for a checkup, I'll definitely stop by my mother's hospital. If you can take the child to the hospital, I'll just rest at home. I can't drive. There's a convenient thing called a taxi, you know. That's too much trouble. Besides, it's dangerous to put a baby in a taxi. As long as Barton drives the car, we won't have a problem.
I have work. I'm entrusting the child to you.
So neither of you will even move for the sake of the child. I'll take the child for the checkup, so it's not a problem. In the end, neither of them had any intention of cooperating, even for the sake of the child. Checkups are for both the mother and the child. So I also have to go to the hospital, but my husband doesn't even understand that. It seems he has no interest in me or the child. Of course, I understand the reason behind it. However, now is not the time to openly discuss it. Right now, I want to prioritize my mother. After the checkup, I headed to my mother's place. After consulting with the hospital, we had a face-to-face meeting through the glass in the first-floor recreation room. My daughter and I met my mother from the outside. My mother, who came in a wheelchair, gave my daughter a wonderful smile. I wished she could hold her. I was resigned to the fact that such a wish would not come true. However, when the doctor signaled to me, my mother in a wheelchair and the director came out to meet me at the hospital entrance. Director?
I'm not the hospital director right now. I'm going on a break, so this time it's private. I'm just a regular guy. I don't know the hospital rules, but just for 5 minutes. My mother and I lowered our heads respectfully. Then my mother gently placed the baby on her lap. She's adorable, truly adorable. Myra, you did well. Good job. Even though she's still small, she feels quite heavy, doesn't she? I'm grateful she was born healthy. Thank you. With tears in her eyes, my mother smiled as she looked at my daughter. It brought joy to spend even a short time together with my mother and daughter. However, that night, my mother's condition suddenly worsened. I instantly understood that the vibration of my phone around 2 a.m. was a warning that my mother was in a critical condition. What the heck? At this hour? Why didn't you turn off your smartphone? I'm tired from work. There's no way I would turn off my phone under these circumstances. My husband was someone who couldn't even show that consideration. Mom's condition suddenly worsened. I'm going to the hospital. At this hour? What about my breakfast tomorrow? Skipping one meal won't lead to starvation. I desperately suppressed the urge to raise my voice.
I didn't want to wake my sleeping daughter. When we arrived at the hospital, my aunt Adeline and her family were already there. Oh, Myra, hold your mom's hand. When Barton and the others arrive, I'll guide them, so don't worry. They're not coming. Huh? Is that so? Yes. My mother was already in a deep state of unconsciousness. Mom. Myra. Mom. Don't cry. Today, your dad will come home soon. Let's all go out to eat. Oh, Myra, you're so cute. My mother's last moments were filled with a smile. Until the very end, she smiled. Until the very end, she peacefully entered into restful sleep with our family. My mother did her best with a strong will to see her grandchildren. It was a great relief for me to be able to let my mother see her daughter, even though I was deeply saddened. Afterward, I arranged the funeral, but there was no assistance from Barton's side. Supporting me while staying by my side was my aunt's family. None of Barton or his relatives showed up at the funeral. After the funeral, when I returned home with my daughter, Barton was waiting at the entrance.
Bringing a newborn to a funeral is inauspicious.
I ignored my husband and entered the house. In the living room, my mother-in-law Louisa was present. What's with that gloomy face? We all have a life expectancy. Your mother just reached hers early, that's all, right?
Well, life expectancy is a fixed thing. By the way, how much is my mother-in-law's inheritance?
Huh? There's no way there's anything. Before going to the hospital, she was living in a rental, right? I can't believe she left nothing for her child. I want to leave this house immediately. I want to divorce my husband and live alone with my daughter. But I don't have the financial means to do that right now. If only I had the money, I wouldn't need to stay in this house. As my mother-in-law said, my mother's inheritance was meager. But if there's a lump sum, I can easily take it from my husband. That's because he is cheating. I've noticed it for a while now. The lingering scent of body soap from his suit, no signs of sweating on his dress shirt despite being out. I also know he brings his smartphone into the toilet and bathroom. And the decisive evidence was witnessing my husband arm in arm with an unfamiliar woman entering a hotel. I have evidence. Up until now, I had prioritized my mother, putting this matter on hold. But now, presenting this evidence, I can demand compensation for emotional distress. I could make my husband pay $30,000 and the woman $10,000. But with my meager salary, can I make my daughter happy with just $40,000? Taking away a father from a daughter who knows nothing. Is it okay to do such a thing? Various thoughts race through my mind, and I find myself stuck. The days of agonizing thoughts continue, and in the blink of an eye, it's been a year since my mother passed away. To commemorate my mother, I had a meal with my aunt's family. My aunt's family took care to arrange everything for me. They are truly close-knit. The love I once had for my husband, who doesn't care about me at all, is already gone. Myra, have you returned to work? Yeah, 6 months ago. You know I have to work. How much is your salary? Around $3,000, I guess. Hey, Myra, is everything okay with Barton? Things aren't going well with Barton, are they? Yes, but I need the money to raise this child. That's it? What? If you didn't have to worry about money, would you want to leave that house right away? How about it? Since our daughter was born, my husband hasn't shown any interest in her. On the contrary, he keeps saying, I hope the next one is a boy. I handle everything at home and take care of our daughter. Even my mother-in-law keeps nagging about wanting a grandson. If I had the money, I would want a divorce. I remembered thinking that a year ago. Yeah, I want to get out of that place. I want a divorce. I want to live with my daughter. I see. Thank you for sharing. Leave it to me. And 3 months later, with the prospect of divorce, all that remained was to confront my husband. However, an unexpected turn of events unfolded. Mom collapsed,
Pancreatic cancer. What should I do? She doesn't have much time left.
Yeah.
I want to fulfill my mom's last wish. She wants to spend her final moments in this house by my side.
I see.
She'll be moving in this weekend, so please, cooperate.
As I showed a smile, my husband, with tears in his eyes, said,
Thank you.
Then I left home for the weekend without seeing the move. I turned off the phone that hasn't stopped ringing all afternoon because it interferes with my daughter's sleep. The next day, I left my daughter at daycare and went to work. My husband was waiting for me with an angry look on his face.
Why didn't you answer the phone? Where were you yesterday? I told you my mom is moving in.
I turned off the phone because it would wake up our daughter. I was at the new house. Good job on the move.
Huh? What do you mean, new house?
Just as it sounds, a new residence.
Why are you talking nonsense?
Oh, didn't get it? Let me break it down. I'm divorcing you.
Huh? Why?
Because I hate scum like you and your nasty mom. What's with living together? What's with fulfilling the last wish? You make it happen. Don't drag me into your crap. What did you say when my mom passed away? She'll die soon anyway, so it's a waste of time, you said, right? I'll return those exact words. Your mom will die soon anyway. You should both drop dead together.
I didn't say it like that.
I'm sorry, Mom. I spoke foul words to someone who doesn't have much time left to live. But please forgive me just this once. I want to let out what I've been holding back in front of my daughter. I'm not ready to say it yet, but whatever. You're cheating on me, aren't you?
Huh?
It's probably true, right? Because I work in caregiving. You thought I'd take care of your mom while you enjoy lovey-dovey time with your mistress? Are you stupid? I'll demand full alimony. So please disappear and stop bothering me. My husband stood there dumbfounded. Afterward, the divorce with my husband was successfully finalized. I managed to secure both shared assets and alimony, all thanks to the help of my aunt. It was my aunt who also gathered additional evidence of the affair. She also covered the investigation expenses. That's not all. My aunt offered me a room in one of her own investment apartments. The location is very convenient and it's a property that I would normally be able to afford. She let me have the apartment with just the maintenance fee. I am truly filled with gratitude. Despite already being divorced, my ex-husband frequently contacts me, complaining about his miserable situation without me asking about it.
I can't stand my mother being so selfish. She's going to run away. She said she would get married. Maybe we need professional help.
You should rely on the hospital.
No, it takes a long time, and I don't know if it'll work. Besides, $5,000 a month is tough.
Oh, you spent it all on your affair. Took child support and shared property from me. Thank goodness, I got a lump sum for the child support. You squandered so much money.
Myra, if you look after everything, I'll pay. How about $50 a day?
Seriously, I'm glad we got divorced. I hung up the phone just like that, and I blocked all of his contact information. My ex-husband is worn out from being abandoned by his affair partner and exhausted by his selfish mother. His mother, frustrated by her inability to move as she wishes, is increasingly irritated by her inadequate son. Just knowing that was enough to lighten my heart. Let's move forward without looking back at the past. In the not-so-distant future, I plan to raise my daughter without relying on my aunt. For that, I need to work hard at both my job and parenting. I will cherish and raise my daughter just as my mother did for me. I'm sure everything will be fine, because my mother is watching over us.
My name is Gia. I've been married to Josh for 3 years now. Even though we haven't had kids yet, we are happily sailing through our married life together. His family has a large number of close relatives, and they all get together over Christmas. I get roped in to entertain these guests. Josh being the eldest son, and I, as his wife, am supposed to assist his mother in preparations. It wouldn't be so bad if it were just that. The toughest part for me isn't Christmas. It's Thanksgiving. During the 4-day weekend, all the relatives gather at once and feast together. I have dreaded this holiday ever since I got married. It's not that I dislike having holiday parties. In fact, I enjoy them a lot. I don't mind cooking or making various preparations when relatives come over. It's the blatant mother-in-law's bullying that I can't stand. Right from the start, she viewed me as a woman who stole her precious son, an enemy. She's got this perception. When we went to visit her the day after our wedding, she straight up said to my face, "I don't acknowledge you as my family. Mark my words." Even I, someone who has thick skin, was stunned, to say the least. I thought, wow, is she seriously that jealous of me? Since I understood I wasn't her cup of tea, I resolved to be as unobtrusive as possible. However, I remain an enemy no matter what I do to comply, and she's never pleased with me. When I follow her instructions in cooking, "It's tasteless. If you can't even cook, you don't deserve to be the wife of my son." When I hang the laundry, "You are doing it all wrong. Redo everything." When I clean the room, "There's still dust over there. What are you, blind?" Just like that, she criticizes every move I make. When I talk to Josh about it, he says,
Yeah, she's going a bit too far. Let me speak to her.
He asked her to tone down her remarks about me, to which she weeps crocodile tears, saying, "I just want her to be a good wife." She tried to get his sympathy. I'm like, who would fall for fake tears like that? To my shock, Josh starts comforting her.
Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just want you guys to get along, you know.
He nearly tears up himself. It's so pathetic that it makes me want to cry. When something like this happens, he calms up around her for a while. He even tells me,
Mom cares about you and is looking after you. Can't you meet her halfway?
It reaches a point where I can't take it anymore. I'm doing my absolute best, you know. But it seems no matter what I do, she isn't happy. So what can I do? I end up snapping at him. Although it's not entirely his fault. He's been acting all nervous lately, trying to make things between Yolanda and me. That's been irritating me for some reason. When I raise my voice, he seems lost and just mutters, "Sorry." That's all he says. If he's sorry, he should do something about his mom. But it seems whenever she cries, he can't help but feel terrible. I get that he is kind, but he should have my back at all times. That's how I have been feeling all along. As my bad relationship with Yolanda continues, Thanksgiving arrives again. As usual, we were summoned to her place, and I'm getting ready with food and drinks for the impending crowd of relatives. Josh tries to help, but Yolanda holds him back, engaging him in a constant conversation to keep him from assisting me. Despite his troubled look, he can't ignore her and ends up chatting with her. After a while, the relatives start showing up one after another. I know most of their names, but there are a few unfamiliar faces. I signal Josh over and ask, "Who are they?"
That's Mom's younger brother's family. Uncle Nick and Aunt Erin. And that's my cousin.
It's my first time meeting them, so I introduce myself and start a brief chat. Uncle Nick is so friendly that I can't believe he is Yolanda's brother. Aunt Erin is a genuinely lovely person, and their daughter, who is a year younger than me, has this carefree vibe. Oh, you're Gia, the wife of Josh, right? So happy to finally meet you. Alana, Josh's cousin, almost jumps on me to give me a big hug. There isn't anyone my age in the usual crowd, so meeting her is exciting for me. When Yolanda sees me cheerfully chatting with Alana, she walks over and whispers, "What all this chit-chat? Get back to your work." She hisses into my ear in a low voice. She's wearing a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. She detests seeing me having fun with the relatives. To avoid upsetting her father, I quickly go back to the kitchen. A few minutes later, Alana comes in as I'm frantically preparing alone. "Hey girl, what you doing? Let me help you." "Oh really? Thanks." I ask her to serve food onto plates, and at that moment, Yolanda must sense something and come into the kitchen. She shoots me a nasty look, then immediately switches to a smile and turns toward Alana. "Don't worry, Alana. This is something Gia said she wants to do. Hey, could you pour drinks for everyone instead?" Alana gives me a worried look, but dealing with Yolanda's mood swing is more of a hassle, so I say, "Yeah, I'm good here. So can you handle that for me?" Then she follows Yolanda out of the kitchen. Yolanda comes right back, looking like a devil. "Don't make others do your work, you useless thing. Next time you pull something like this, I won't let you get away with it easily." I simply apologize and continue with preparations in silence. Alana checks on me occasionally, but thinking it will be a hassle if Yolanda catches me again, I force a smile and tell her everything is okay. After a while, the food is finally ready, and I start serving the relatives seated around the big table. Yolanda doesn't lift a finger to help, and when Alana and Aunt Erin try to assist, she said, "She wants to do it herself, so let her. Just watch over her." She comes up with a convenient lie and is adamantly unwilling to let me receive any help. I feel Alana's concerned glances, but I pretend not to notice and continue serving the food. Of course, Josh doesn't even try to intervene, being afraid to upsetting his mom, and quietly sits in his seat. Will this keep happening forever? I suddenly feel everything turning bleak. After finishing serving all the dishes, I take a break alone in the kitchen, snacking on leftovers and lounging on a chair. I hear Yolanda's loud laughter coming from where everyone's gathered. She keeps going on for so long that curiosity takes over me, and I take a peek. Once I listen in on their conversation, I realize that what she's saying is beyond appalling. "Well, you know, Gia is really useless. No matter how many times I tell her, she just can't get the chores right. I don't know if she will ever get it. It's ridiculous, you know." She cracks up after saying that. It turns out, the laughter I've been hearing is just her bad-mouthing me. I know she dislikes me, but I never imagined she'd make fun of me in front of relatives. Her voice is loud, so I'm pretty sure the entire room is aware of my faults now. I glance at Josh, who is awkwardly smiling and not saying a word despite being in a position to fight for me. Why is he smiling? I can't help blurting out. The person who should have my back is just sitting there, laughing awkwardly without a protest. I'm incredibly frustrated and feeling pathetic. Yolanda keeps spouting one bad thing after another about me. "She can't even hang the laundry right, so I always have to redo it. Cleaning either. There are always some dirty spots left. In the end, it's double the work for me. See, the food is kinda meh, isn't it? She doesn't make an effort. Even though the relatives don't seem genuinely amused by the stories she's sharing, they're going along with the mood. They laugh and nod in agreement.
I feel for you.
They sip drinks while listening to her bad-mouthing me. I can't do this anymore. I feel all the anger I've been holding back surging up, realizing I can't take it anymore. As I step inside the room to say I'm leaving, a spoon suddenly flies toward Yolanda with tremendous force. Oh my God! She barely dodges it, but it flies right past her head at incredible speed. She can't seem to grasp the situation, and everyone else freezes too. I'm also confused as to who threw the spoon. Then someone speaks up. You have been spouting nonsense all this time. Who are you to speak like that? I turn towards the voice. Alana. She still hasn't noticed me standing by the door. She glares at Yolanda and says, Do you even realize how much burden you're putting on Gia? Making dishes for this many people all by herself is insane. You don't even let me help her and say she wants to do it alone. I knew something was off from the start. Yolanda is clearly panicking and blurts out, It's true. She always does things on her own. Alana finally notices me in the room and asks, Is that true, Gia? Well, even though I was seething with anger moments ago, I can't find the right words to say in front of everyone. Seeing me struggle, she encourages me. It's okay, Gia. Tell us the truth. I try hard to hold back my tears as I look straight at her. I never said such things. Yolanda always nitpicks everything I do and verbally abuses me. Hearing that, she stands up, fuming. Don't you dare lie! You're basically a useless woman who can't do any housework in the first place. Alana grabs a wine glass and throws a drink at her face this time. What the? Drenched in wine. She doesn't immediately grasp what has happened. She's completely stunned and frozen in time. Alana opens her mouth again and says firmly, Seriously, get real. Can you even handle preparing all the food for everyone by yourself? Can you even cook dishes this good? Despite Yolanda constantly picking on me, she isn't particularly skilled in household chores herself. If she claims she can, Alana might immediately retort with, Then do it now. She must sense it too, so she keeps her mouth shut. Then Alana looks around and says to everyone, And you people, just fake smiling and listening. Shame on you. You are all a disgrace as human beings. Having rotten people like this as relatives is embarrassing. Even if they didn't truly agree with Yolanda, they were indeed going along with her. Everyone is quiet and looking down, seemingly feeling guilty. Alana looks around the table and says, You all are supposed to be mature adults, but you can't even say sorry. How pathetic! She lets out an exaggerated sigh and starts walking straight toward Josh. She then grabs a wine bottle nearby and pours it upside down over his head. Looking confused, he's at a loss for words. How about that? Feeling refreshed now? Just so you know, you're the worst. Despite your wife always going through this, how can you just sit there like it doesn't concern you? Are you a statue or something? Should I toss you out like bulky garbage? scolded by his younger cousin. He's thrown off balance.
Well, I've tried telling my mom a few times.
He tries to justify himself. If nothing changed in the end, it's pointless, isn't it? You can't even understand something as basic as that? You're failing as a husband. I feel so bad for Gia. She's way too good for Aunt Yolanda and you. She brings a hammer down on his head. Suddenly, he stands up and walks toward me. He then immediately starts apologizing.
I'm really sorry, honey.
Stunned by his unexpected action, all I manage to say is, "It's okay, don't worry." Alana comes over to me and grabs my arm. "Come on, Gia, let's go grab something good to eat." So she takes me in her car to an Italian restaurant she likes. We talk about a lot of things, and I feel completely refreshed. Afterward, Yolanda and Josh apologized to me, and Alana gave them a stern scolding to ensure it wouldn't happen again. After the embarrassment in front of our relatives, I bet Yolanda won't pick on me anymore. Josh promised he wouldn't overlook it again, so this time, I will let it slide. If something like that even happens again in the future, well then, because of the incident, Alana and I are close friends now. We vent on each other and enjoy going out and shopping together. I'm truly grateful to her. My current position and environment is all thanks to her, you know. Since that incident, Yolanda stopped giving me a hard time and even started helping with cooking. I've reduced my visit to her place and kept a balanced relationship. I hope we can maintain this moderate distance and continue our good relationship for a long time.
A wife like you, a slacker, is not worth staying together anymore. If you have complaints, let's get a divorce.
It was unmistakably my husband, who was red in the face and yelling in front of me. Why did I end up marrying such a man? Just when I was thinking we should live supporting each other with my child. Custody goes to the father, right? Huh? Suddenly, my daughter was confronted with a reality. But my daughter had a secret plan. My name is Mary, and I'm 42 years old. I have been married to my husband Kyle for almost 20 years. We're a family of 3. My husband, me, and our first-year high school daughter, Melanie. My husband is a workaholic, and since our daughter was little, we didn't have many family outings. I also liked my job, so I wanted to return to work when I put my daughter in daycare. But I was ordered by my husband like this.
You are a wife and a mother. Just take care of the house. Don't even think about working. That's ridiculous.
He provides for the living expenses, so there was no need to worry about our livelihood. But neither my daughter nor I are seeking such a life. What we desire is to go out more as a family, spend time together as a family of 3. However, even when I told my husband about it, he would dismiss it, saying,
Talking about such thing is a waste of time. Unlike you two, I work every day, and that's my prime time.
And he would treat me and my daughter as nuisances, putting the blame on us. Even as my daughter was still young, she seems to have noticed that my husband was rejecting family time. At some point, the amount of time I spent talking to my husband decreased drastically. On the positive side, my daughter and I were close, like sisters. We go shopping together, go to the movies on weekends. As she grew up, she became more helpful, giving me some free time for myself. My husband is relatively quiet, as long as my daughter doesn't talk to him. He eats his meals without any complaints. My daughter and I had grown accustomed to such a life. One day, my husband started complaining about me.
Hey, I have been thinking. What's the deal with the meals you make?
Huh? I didn't do anything special.
Something is off. Every single day, you serve up such awful food. Who do you think buys the ingredients for you? Despite being a stay-at-home mom, can't you even cook properly?
He would rant and shout like this unreasonably, even though my cooking had never been praised before. I have never been subjected to such harsh words.
And it's bland in flavor. Are you treating me like an old man? Who do you think is supporting our lives?
Well, my daughter, who had been silently enduring my husband's tyrannical behavior, suddenly spoke up while we were having a meal together. Dad, can you stop yelling from the morning? It's really annoying. And if you think that this is bland, why don't you add seasoning yourself? You're not a child, you know. My husband was momentarily taken aback by my daughter's clear retort. Apparently, he didn't know how to deal with my daughter because he hadn't interacted with her properly before. He usually just ignored her whenever she said something. Hey, Dad, are you listening? It's true that we can live thanks to your money, but who do you think is cooking for us? Who enables us to have meals every day? Who takes care of the laundry to ensure we have clean shirts every day?
Well, that's...
Faced with a confrontation from his disliked daughter, my husband struggled to respond. Then, he began to redirect his focus from our daughter to me.
Hey, because of your bad parenting, Melanie has grown into such a defiant brat, right? How do you plan to take responsibility?
Hold on. What do you mean by calling your own daughter a brat?
Huh. It's the truth, right? I'm sure Melanie will turn into a bad person just like you.
My husband snickers triumphantly. I couldn't tolerate being insulted myself, let alone my daughter. Cut it out already. Saying such things to your precious daughter. You're the worst. In response to my raised voice, my husband retorted with a mocking look.
A useless wife like you is not worth being with anymore. If you have a problem with it, get a divorce.
Divorce? Why are you suddenly saying that?
What's wrong? Are you troubled by the idea of getting divorced? Well, I guess so. An unemployed housewife like you could never survive on your own.
Saying this, my husband began to laugh loudly, considering my long period as a stay-at-home wife. As my husband claimed, I didn't have much in terms of savings. If I were to divorce and raise my daughter alone, I could foresee the hardships. But to stay with such a man in the future, that was absolutely unbearable. While I wrestled with this inner conflict, my daughter spoke up again. Mom, it's going to be okay. You don't have to force yourself to stay married to Dad. I'm smart, and I support your decision. Melanie, with those words from my daughter, it felt like a weight was lifted from my heart. My daughter, who was my biggest concern, was supporting me in this decision. Even though there would be challenges, being with my beloved daughter, I made up my mind and agreed to my husband's divorce demand. Fine, let's get a divorce. Then my husband, as if waiting for this, took out a pre-filled divorce form from his bag.
Here, sign this. Then I will give you some money for moving expenses as a farewell gift.
You're quite prepared, huh?
Of course. I've wanted a divorce for a long time. I've been dropping hints for ages. Didn't you notice? Besides, you are too persistent.
So, my husband deliberately made annoying remarks to hasten the divorce process. He had grown to dislike me that much. At that point, I stopped caring about everything. I signed the divorce papers as instructed, and my husband handed me some money.
Do your best with that money.
While taking it, I felt like I was losing, but honestly, I could use the money. Silently, I accepted it and tucked it away. As soon as I decided on the divorce, it felt like a huge burden was lifted from my shoulders, and I immediately decided to live with my daughter. Melanie, let's prepare together. At least until we find our new home, we can stay at my mom's place. Just as I was about to say that, I'm not moving. Custody is with Dad, right? Huh? What did you just say? Not moving? Custody with Dad? My daughter's words left me in a panic.
Wait a minute, Melanie. What do you mean? You are going to live with your mom.
But I'm in high school, you know. I don't want to transfer now. And moving is a hassle, right?
Then mom will find a house near your high school, okay?
It's fine, really. I'm used to living in this house, and I've decided to live efficiently. My daughter's expression was lively, and she seems completely untroubled. Seeing her like that made me feel a bit sad. Maybe I was the only one who thought we were a close-knit parent-child pair. My daughter's reaction was more shocking than my husband's divorce demand. However, it wasn't just me who was shaken by her decision. My husband, too, seemed flustered.
Don't mess around. Normally, daughters live with their mothers, right? You should live with her, too.
Be quiet. I said I don't want to. I said I don't want to. When you turn 16, you can choose which parent to live with based on your own will. That's why I'm saying I will stay with Dad.
I don't care about that. Weren't you close to marry? So why?
Like I said before, moving is a hassle. And considering efficiency, it's more convenient for Dad to have custody. While my daughter explained with ease, my husband clearly wasn't convinced. Despite yelling multiple times,
Live with Mary.
My daughter adamantly shook her head. Then she continued, Mom, I will help you pack too. It will be faster if we do it together, right? Saying that, she started gathering things in my room. I couldn't understand this child's intentions at all. What is Melanie thinking? I was momentarily confused. No, maybe I was the only one who thought we were close like sisters, and she never really liked me from the beginning. Thinking pessimistically, tears welled up naturally. As I hid my face to keep it from my daughter, she spoke to me cheerfully. It's okay, Mom. Just a little more patience. Eh? For a moment, I froze, not understanding what she meant. However, that confusion was dispelled when I heard about a certain plan from my daughter. That's how it is. So, Mom, please hang in there, even if you're alone. Yes, I understand. With my daughter as a collaborator, I became determined. I won't let my husband have his way. I will definitely get my revenge. With this resolve, I packed my belongings and left our home. Afterward, I returned to my parents' house, and a month later, I was able to rent an apartment. When I informed my daughter of the new apartment's address, she started dropping by after high school. According to my daughter, the plan was progressing smoothly. It's about time for things to start moving. My daughter informed me of this around 3 months after my husband's divorce request. As expected, one day, a call came from my husband.
Hello? Is this Mary? Please help me.
My husband's first words were in tears. I pretended not to know anything and asked him, Help you? What happened?
Melanie, she treats me like a housekeeper every day. I can't take it anymore.
It was just as I expected. Since I left, my daughter has been correcting my husband on all household chores.
Even though I have work, she keeps saying, cook proper meals and do laundry every day. She complains about the taste of the food, saying it's too strong or unappetizing. I'm really stressed out.
All the unreasonable things my husband had said to me were now being thrown back at him by my daughter. The consequences of his own actions were coming back to haunt him. My husband, without realizing it, was seeking my help.
Please, take Melanie back. I'm seriously losing my mind like this.
Honestly, taking Melanie back was not a problem for me. In fact, I wanted to live with her again as soon as possible. However, if I agreed now, it would ruin my daughter's carefully planned strategy. So I told my husband this. Tell that to Melanie, not me. Custody is Melanie's choice. If you really want her to leave, why not negotiate with my daughter? I decisively hung up the phone. That's enough. For now, I will ignore personal feelings and faithfully follow my daughter's plan. A week later, Melanie, having received a substantial sum of money, moved into my apartment. Well done, Mom. Our plan was a great success. Indeed. All thanks to you, Melanie. That's right. My daughter never intended to live separately from me in the first place. Naturally, my daughter arranged for custody to be temporarily with her father, making him understand the challenges of household chores and the struggles of being a mother. After that, she ensured that my husband reached a point where he insisted,
I really want our daughter to leave.
Then she secured a promise for a lump sum payment of child-rearing support until she reached adulthood. With this as a condition, my daughter decided to move out. That was her strategy. Following the plan, Melanie received a calculated amount of $1,000 a month, totaling about $50,000 from her father in one lump sum, just as planned. And so, under clear skies, she moved into my apartment. Truly, my daughter devised a frightening plan though. However, thanks to her plan, financial worries have indeed disappeared. That alone is more than enough. Yet, my daughter brought even more valuable information to me. And then, Mom, look at this. What is it? She handed me a voice recorder. Just press the play button. Pressured by my daughter, I played the voice recorder. There, my husband's conversation with someone on the phone was recorded.
Oh, the divorce is settled properly. But you see, there's our daughter. No, it's fine. I will kick her out properly. Huh? I only love you, Julia. Oh, Julia? It seems the daughter is finally moving out. Now I can live with you, Julia. Yeah, I love you too.
Undoubtedly, it was my husband's voice talking to his affair partner. Furthermore, my daughter showed me a photo of my husband with an unfamiliar woman. What is this, Melanie? What's with this photo? I dug through his phone while making him do house chores. Oh, they are saved text messages with affair partner too. Want to see? My daughter joyfully presented evidence of my husband's affair one after another. Terrifying. That's what I thought. But thanks to the evidence she gathered, I could claim alimony from my husband. After hiring a lawyer and claiming alimony from my husband, he called.
Hey, what do you mean alimony now? We are already divorced. Whether I have a relationship with someone or not, have nothing to do with it, right?
Then, my daughter snatched the phone from me and responded, Hey Dad, even though you are an adult, don't you know? If infidelity is discovered within 3 years after the divorce, You can still claim alimony. Got it?
No!
My husband seems unaware of this fact, and he was left speechless on the other end of the call. He fell completely into his own daughter's trap. Ignoring my husband, who was screaming like crazy, I rejected the call and left the rest to the lawyer. In the end, my ex-husband and his affair partner agreed to pay alimony in a lump sum to me. My ex-husband remarried Julia, his affair partner, but she turned out to be a spender, spending all his salary. She even maxed out my ex-husband's credit card, accumulating debts. The fact that my ex-husband's divorce was due to infidelity quickly spread within the company, and it seems colleagues around him are looking at him with disapproval. I heard he was cheating, even though he has a high school daughter. Yeah, he used to show off at work with that confidence appeal, right? The rumor spread to higher-ups, and despite recently getting a promotion, he ended up being demoted. With that, his salary decreased, and he faces daily verbal abuse from his new wife, known for her extravagant spending. It's a level of hardship that makes you feel a bit sympathetic. On the other hand, I'm leading a happy life with my daughter. I've saved all the child support I received from my ex-husband for my daughter's university education. Although not wealthy, my daughter never complains. Somehow, every day is lively, and I truly appreciate having my daughter. Together, we can overcome any difficulties that may come our way in the future. I'm sincerely grateful for this happiness.
Get out.
What? Suddenly told by my husband Adam to leave. My mind went blank. We got married shortly after finding out I was pregnant a few months ago. The birth is approaching, and I believed we'd soon be happily living together as a family of 3. But now, he's trying to kick me out of the house. Does he expect me, with no income, to survive on my own? Wasn't he looking forward to the arrival of our baby? As I struggled to accept reality, he delivered the final blow.
Get out. Don't come back until I say you can.
Wait a minute. This is so sudden. I don't understand.
Just shut up and leave now.
My husband, furious like I've never seen, yelled at me. Terrified by this new side of him, I fled the house. I'm Jane, 28 years old. I studied design at the technical college and got a job at a production company after graduation. Our company gets requests for designs, illustrations, company logos, and brochures. That's where I met my husband Adam. He worked for a fairly large company and came to us for a brochure design. I was assigned to his project, and we had several meetings to ensure everything was done right. At first, it was all business talk, but gradually, we began sharing personal stories. Discovering we both enjoyed movies, we started meeting outside of work. About a year after we met, we began dating. We just celebrated our 2nd anniversary. While eating our anniversary cake, I brought up something important. Hey Adam, I have something important to tell you today.
What? You look so serious. You're scaring me.
It's not bad news.
Phew, okay then. So what's the important news?
Well, actually, I pulled an ultrasound photo from an envelope and showed it to him. Seeing it, he widened his eyes and murmured,
Is this what I think it is?
Yes, I'm pregnant with our baby.
Are you serious? No way! Wow! I'm so happy. But why am I tearing up?
Don't cry. If you cry, then I will.
Oh man, I'm really happy. Thank you. I promise to make you happy.
Thank you, Adam. I want to be happy with you and our baby. That's how we decided to go from lovers to spouses. But there was one problem. Adam's mother, Holly, didn't approve of our marriage. When we went to his parents' house to announce the pregnancy and our marriage, his father, Derek, smiled happily. But Holly glared at me and accused me. You seduced my son. What are you playing at? I don't seduce him.
You're just after his money because he works at a good company, aren't you?
No, I genuinely love him.
I wonder about that. You're just a technical college graduate. Don't get too comfortable with my son.
I felt completely invalidated and couldn't hold back my tears. Derek tried to intervene, but Holly showed no sign of remorse. In the midst of this, Adam yelled louder than anyone.
Mom, enough! Why are you angry, Adam? I'm doing this for you. If you're thinking of me, then don't badmouth the person I chose. Jane is talented and doing great at her company. You don't need to defend her. You can do so much better than her. Jane is the most important person to me. She doesn't deserve your insults. Adam.
Holly looked tearful. She adored him and seemed to fluctuate with every word he said. Despite her opposition, we collected our paperwork and registered our marriage the following month. We officially started our married life 4 months into the pregnancy. Holly's words had hurt me, but we managed to get through it. I thought we would support each other going forward, but at that time, I didn't realize a huge storm was approaching our marriage. I noticed it around the 5th month of my pregnancy. My company has a policy for early maternity leave, especially since the CEO is a woman who prioritizes health during pregnancy. After I announced my pregnancy, they encouraged me to take maternity leave early. Grateful for my colleagues' kindness, I started my leave in the 5th month. Every heartbeat and ultrasound movement filled me with incredible love. I truly understand the preciousness of having a child with the person I love. Now on maternity leave, I plan to take it easy for the baby. I dreamed of going places with Adam and our baby. While showing him the ultrasound, we made plans for the future. Hey, where should we take our baby once they are born?
Well, how about we all go to the aquarium we love?
I was truly happy seeing my husband talk excitedly about it. Then, a few days later, while I was taking it easy and doing housework, the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, there stood my mother-in-law Holly, looking perplexed. Oh, hi, Holly. She frowned at my calling her name. Don't call me by my first name so casually. And how long are you planning to leave me standing here? Oh, sorry. Please come in. You are quite disrespectful to your mother-in-law. She rudely kicked off her shoes and burst into the living room, sitting on the sofa with a sigh. You weren't sleeping, were you? No, I was just cleaning. Cleaning, huh? But I saw hair on the hallway floor. I've only vacuumed the living room so far. I was going to do the hallway next. You always have an excuse, don't you? Really? Is that how you tricked my son too? No, it's not like that. Well, whatever. I came here today to tell you something important. She stood up abruptly and came close to me, pointing coldly at my now slightly noticeable belly. Just because you're pregnant, don't bother my son. Raise that child on your own. Excuse me? What are you talking about? There are better women out there for Adam. Not someone like you from the bottom rung. How can you say that? That's too much. Shut up. You changed my son. He used to be such a good boy, but you made him strange. Divorce him. She threw holy water on me, shouting, "Demon!" while splashing it. I was beyond keeping my composure. Why? Why does this have to be happen to me? I just want to be happy with Adam and our baby. She seemed satisfied seeing me soaked in holy water and left soon after. Meanwhile, I felt completely broken. I should tell Adam about this, but I was too ashamed to admit how much his mother hated me. The next day, letters started arriving daily for Adam. At first, he didn't pay much attention, but recently, he has been frowning as he read them. One day, after reading a letter, he crumpled it and trembled. Concerned, I cautiously asked him, "Hey, you have been getting letters recently without a sender."
It doesn't concern you.
Why are you speaking to me like that?
Just drop it. It's my mail, not yours.
Sorry. After that day, his attitude became colder. He used to come home on time, but now he's late. On weekends, he used to go out with me, but now he goes out alone. Whenever I ask what he's doing, he just says,
It's none of your business. Don't worry about it.
Even when I told him our baby was a girl, he briefly smiled, but then quickly went back to being expressionless. Can we really continue like this after the baby is born? That thought tightened its grip on my heart. As my pregnancy moved into the later stages, and the due date was 3 months away, Adam came home early one day, looking gloomier than ever. The air was so heavy, I struggled to speak, but knowing something serious was up, I forced myself to ask, "Adam, is something wrong?" He wouldn't look at me. Then, in a shocking cold voice, he said something I will never forget.
Get out.
What? His abrupt words left me completely stunned. I was about to give birth, yet he's asking me to leave? The reality that I was being thrown out of my home was inescapable. He really wants me, with no income, to survive on my own? Wasn't he excited for our baby's arrival? As I couldn't comprehend this, he delivered the final blow.
Get out. Don't come back until I say you can.
Wait a minute. This is so sudden. I don't understand.
Just shut up and leave now.
Terrified my yelling husband, my legs shook. Not knowing what to do, I quickly packed some things and called my father. He said he would come to pick me up, and I decided to take refuge at my parents' house for a while. That's how I left the house, as if fleeing. The following days were tough. Adam wouldn't reply to my messages or calls. My father apparently talked to him once, but he was vague about the conversation. Why could my father talk to him, but not me? I couldn't stop crying from the shock. The next month, while cooking with my mom, the doorbell rang. My dad unusually answered it, so I continued cooking. Then, he called my mom and me into the living room. There stood Adam and Holly. "Adam, it's been a while."
Jane, have you been okay?
"How could I be okay? You've been ignoring all my calls and messages. What have you been doing?" Why? I couldn't suppress my questions and ended up speaking harshly. My pent-up anger and sadness had definitely reached a peak. Adam lowered his head. his voice trembling as if he were crying.
Jane, I'm really sorry. I had no other way to do this without telling you anything.
What do you mean? I don't understand what you're apologizing for.
I didn't want to do this either, but this was the only way to protect you.
Protect me? I asked back immediately, not understanding what he meant. He nodded slightly and began to explain.
My being cold to you and sending you back to your parents was all to protect you.
That still doesn't make any sense to me.
Do you remember the letters I was receiving?
Yes, I remember. The ones you never showed me, no matter how many times I asked.
Right. I brought them today.
He took out a bunch of letters from his bag and laid them on the table. Reading the words in the letters, I was speechless. Divorce your wife. If you don't, your wife will be harmed. Do you care what happens to the child? Divorce a useless woman who can only bear a girl. Tears flowed freely as I read the heartless words. Adam had kept these letters from me to protect my feelings, just as he said.
Not knowing who sent these, I thought it could be someone dangerous. I feared for your safety when you were alone during the day.
So that's why you told me to leave?
Yes. I thought our house might be bugged or under surveillance. That's why I had to say it like that. I'm really sorry.
Adam.
As I explained everything to your father over the phone and asked him to relay the message to your mother, I just wanted you to be kept in the dark until everything was settled.
Why? Why did you have to bear this alone? Then he showed a troubled smile and spoke tearfully.
Because you are kind but stubborn. If I told you everything, I knew you'd say, I'm fine, I want to stay with you, and refuse to go to your parents.
Well,
I knew you'd insist on facing this together.
My parents nodded in agreement. I then asked about something that had been bothering me. Adam, why did you bring your mother here? The atmosphere froze with my question. Adam, trembling, confessed.
The sender of the letters was actually my mom.
No way! She's your mother. She wouldn't...
She told me something. She splashed holy water at you, didn't she?
Yes, that happened.
She was determined to make us divorce. When I mentioned consulting the police about the letters, she immediately confessed.
That's unbelievable. Holly, pale-faced and downcast, winced when I called her name. She then glared at me and yelled, It's all your fault! My son hates me because of you! Holly, if it weren't for you, Adam would still be with me. Overwhelmed, she screamed in distress, leaving my parents and me speechless. Adam, remaining composed, firmly grabbed her arm and spoke sternly.
Enough already! How much trouble do you need to cause? You promised to apologize today, coming here. But she took you away from me, from your mother. Nonsense. You have no right to call yourself a mother after sending those criminal letters. I won't let you meet our child, and I won't see you again. Our relationship ends today. Stay out of our lives. No! Adam, please forgive me. She broke down in tears. I felt no sympathy, only pity for her. Later, her husband Derek forcefully took her home. It seems he's now considering divorce. Adam and I are suing her for the letters. Having only worked part-time before, she's struggling with multiple jobs to pay the compensation. As for me, I recently gave birth to a healthy baby girl.
Keeping up with her rapid growth is my sole focus. Hoping her future is filled with light, we named her Lucy. She will have many experiences as she grows. As parents, Adam and I will support her as much as we can. That's our plan for now.